ever finish like a Star Wars marathon and you've got your lightsaber, still humming in your hand.
Right.
But you're left with this feeling like there's got to be more to it than just these epic space battles and like cool force powers.
Got to be something deeper.
Yes, exactly. Like those deeper themes, those philosophical questions.
Woven right in.
Exactly. And you, our listener, you get it.
Yes.
You sent us the ultimate Star Wars and philosophy.
It's a good one.
Which is like catnip for our inner Jedi nerds.
It's true.
So get ready for a deep dive into a galaxy of philosophical thought.
We're really going to unpack the Force in this one.
Yes.
Not just as a cool power, but as a way to explore good and evil free will destiny.
It's true.
We're going to get into the Jedi Code, see if their version of Stoicism really holds up under pressure. And we're even going to debate whether the Rebel Alliance just always took the moral high ground.
Yeah.
Because it's not always so simple.
Right.
Right.
He's not black and white.
It's not black and white. No.
Yeah.
It's a galaxy of gray.
And maybe, just maybe, we'll figure out what Yoda really meant by do or do not. There is no try.
Right. What did he mean?
I don't know. But we're going to try to figure it out today.
We'll try.
We'll try.
There is no do or do not.
That's right.
But to get into like the philosophy baked into Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
It helps to remember what philosophy actually is.
Yeah.
Because it's not just dusty old books.
Right.
Complicated words.
Yeah.
It's a way of tackling those big questions about life, the universe, and everything.
It's true.
Right.
Yeah.
So instead of just watching Luke Skywalker grapple with the dark side, we're going to use philosophy to understand why it's so hard to resist that chocolate cake in the braid room.
Oh, man, yes. Or maybe that's just me every day.
Well, let's start with that whole idea of the dark side.
Okay.
One way to look at it comes from a philosopher named Augustine.
Okay.
And he believed that evil isn't some big scary source, but actually the absence of good.
So the dark side isn't a separate thing. It's just what happens when the good stuff goes missing.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
When we think about Anakin Skywalker.
Okay.
Because he doesn't start out wanting to be evil.
Right.
He's driven by love for Padme, this desire to protect her.
Right.
Which, that love in itself is good.
He just wants to save her from dying.
Right. Which is totally understandable.
Right.
But then he goes all dark side to do it.
He does.
And this is where Augustine's idea of evil as the absence of good really clicks.
Okay.
Because Anakin's desire to save Padme, it becomes so all-consuming.
Yeah.
So focused on controlling the outcome.
Right.
That it twists into something destructive.
Right.
It throws everything out of balance.
Wow.
He chooses this lesser good, saving Padme at all costs.
Right.
Over a greater good.
Right.
Respecting life and embracing the natural order.
That's a serious aha moment right there.
Right.
So it's not just about good intentions. It's about how our desires, even good ones, can become so twisted by fear or attachment that they lead us down a dark path.
It's true.
I think we've all been there.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not on an Emperor Palpatine level.
Right.
But still.
We've all been tempted by the dark side.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
And that struggle with attachment, with letting go of outcomes.
Yeah.
That's a key theme in Star Wars and D and a lot of philosophical thought.
Yes.
Which brings us to the Jedi.
Okay.
Those robed figures.
Yes.
Who seem to have mastered the art of, well, not getting too attached.
Okay, but the Jedi, though.
Yeah.
They always seemed a little too good at the detachment thing.
Right.
Like, here's your emotionally repressed robe, young Padawan.
Right.
Now go meditate on a mountaintop for a while.
Yeah.
Isn't there more to it than that?
Well, they do love their mountaintop meditation retreats, it's true.
Yeah.
But the Jedi Code, especially, their emphasis on emotional control actually echoes a philosophy called Stoicism.
Stoicism?
Yeah.
Doesn't that involve a lot of, like, standing around in togas, pondering the meaninglessness of life?
Well, they did wear togas.
Okay.
They did wear togas, but it wasn't about being gleamy.
Okay.
Stoicism is about focusing on what you can control, your thoughts, your actions.
Okay.
And accepting what you can't.
Right.
Like, say, the rise of a tyrannical empire.
Right.
Some things you just can't control.
So basically Yoda telling Anakin to train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose.
Yep.
Sounds like Stoicism 101.
Exactly.
Right.
But the Jedi, even with their laser swords and mind tricks, they grapple with the same dilemmas that the Stoics did.
Which is?
Is it really possible to be detached from everything and everyone you care about?
Because if anyone knew about loss and attachment, it was Anakin Skywalker.
Right.
And didn't that whole don't form attachments thing kind of backfire on the Jedi?
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
Take Anakin's relationship with Padme.
Right.
The Jedi Code forbade attachments like that.
Right.
Arguing they led to fear, jealousy, ultimately the dark side.
Yeah.
So they had to keep it all bottled up.
But isn't a little bit of healthy attachment, of caring deeply for others, like part of what makes us human?
That's the million credit question, isn't it?
Right.
Because the Stoics and the Jedi would argue that true compassion comes from a place of inner peace and detachment.
Right.
But can we truly be compassionate without allowing ourselves to connect with others, to feel their pain? It's a question that the Jedi Order never quite resolved.
And a question that still resonates with us today, I think.
It does.
Even without the whole galactic civil war thing going on.
Right.
Speaking of which, let's talk about the really big conflict.
Yes.
Rebels versus Empire.
Okay.
The ultimate Star Wars in philosophy made me think about something I'd never even considered before.
Okay.
Were the rebels always the good guys?
Ah, yes. The classic Clerks question.
Right.
Wouldn't blowing up the Death Star be considered an act of terrorism? It seems like a joke.
Yeah.
But it raises some really fascinating philosophical questions.
Yes.
About war morality and what it means to fight for a just cause.
Okay, so let's dive into that.
Let's do it.
How does philosophy help us unpack a question like that?
Well, there's a whole area of philosophy called just war theory.
Okay.
Which tries to establish guidelines for when it's morally right to go to war and how to fight ethically once you're in one.
So no fair blowing up planets just because you're having a bad day?
Exactly.
Okay.
Two of the key principles of just war theory are proportionality and non-combatant immunity.
Okay.
Proportionality means weighing the potential good achieved by going to war against the potential harm caused.
So, like, even if the Empire was evil, was blowing up the Death Star twice, really worth the cost.
Yeah.
Especially considering all the potential for civilian casualties.
That's the heart of the debate.
Right.
Let's take the first Death Star.
Okay.
It was a weapon capable of destroying entire planets.
As we saw.
As we saw with Alderaan.
Right.
Destroying it potentially saved countless lives.
Right.
But it also meant the deaths of everyone on board.
Yeah.
Including, presumably, some innocent people just doing their jobs.
Yeah, it's true.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a real moral gray area.
It is.
And there are no easy answers.
Yeah.
It forces us to ask ourselves, can a weapon of mass destruction ever be morally justified?
Right.
Even if used for a good cause?
Right.
And does the potential good outweigh the inevitable loss of innocent life?
Talk about a philosophical dilemma.
I know, right?
And it's not just a problem for a galaxy far, far away. Here in the real world.
Right.
We face similar questions.
All the time.
About drone strikes, collateral damage, the ethics of modern warfare.
Absolutely. Every conflict has its Alderaan.
Wow.
It's moments where the lines between good and evil, right and wrong, they become blurred. Just war theory doesn't give us easy answers, but it gives us a framework for grappling with these incredibly complex issues.
It makes you appreciate those lightsaber battles even more, knowing that there's these deeper philosophical layers beneath the surface.
I know. It adds a whole new dimension.
It does.
To watching those battles.
But what about the characters that aren't Jedi or Sith Lords?
Right.
What about, say, the galaxy's most infamous bounty hunter, Boba Fett?
Boba Fett.
Yeah.
He's an interesting one.
I mean, he's just so cool.
He is cool.
But how does he fit into all of this?
Boba Fett is fascinating because he operates outside those traditional categories of good and evil.
Okay.
He's a perfect example of what philosophers call ethical egoism.
So basically he's looking out for number one.
Precisely. Boba Fett doesn't care about galactic peace or the Force.
Right. He's driven by self-interest, by profit.
So not exactly evil, more like morally neutral, like a spacefaring mercenary with a really cool helmet.
Yeah. Basically, a guy's got to eat, right?
Right. Even in a galaxy far, far away.
Exactly. He's not out to rule the galaxy or destroy the Jedi.
Right.
He's just trying to make a living.
Okay, that's a good point.
Even if it means capturing Han Solo and delivering him to a giant slug-like gangster,
right?
Somebody's got to do it.
Fair enough. So what about those characters who seem to just stumble into chaos?
Oh, yeah.
No matter how hard they try to do the right thing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a certain clumsy Gungan we all know and love.
Jar Jar.
Yes.
Of course.
How does he fit into this?
Jar Jar Binks. He's like the poster boy for what philosophers call moral luck. Moral luck? So it's like the Force is with you, but like in the worst ways possible.
In a way, yeah. Moral luck is this idea that sometimes the morality of our actions is judged based on factors outside of our control.
Okay.
Right. So like Jar Jar often has good intentions.
Right.
But his actions tend to have kind of disastrous consequences.
Yeah, and often for those around him.
Especially those around him, yeah.
It's like that time he accidentally helped Palpatine gain emergency powers.
Oh, yeah.
Paving the way for the rise of the Empire.
The rise of the Empire, just total accident.
Oops.
Yeah, oops.
Not great.
Not great. It makes you wonder if free will is really as straightforward as we think it is.
Right.
Or if luck, fate, maybe even the Force itself plays a role in shaping our destinies.
Now that's a question for Yoda. Speaking of which, we can't forget about the amazing female characters in Star Wars.
Right. How do they fit into all of this?
Yes. How do they fit into all of this philosophical pondering?
Yeah, because the female characters in Star Wars often navigate a galaxy that is dominated by men.
Right.
And traditional power structures.
Yes.
And so they challenge our assumptions about leadership strength and what it means to wield power.
Right.
Even when they're not wielding lightsabers.
Leia's an obvious example.
Right.
She's a princess, a senator, a general. Basically, she's the epitome of don't mess with me energy.
Yeah, she's a powerhouse.
She is.
And think about Padme Amidala.
Right.
She was a queen, a senator, a powerful advocate for peace and diplomacy.
It's true.
But she was often underestimated, overlooked.
Right.
Her voice silenced by those who refused to see her strength.
Right. It makes you wonder if the Force itself is somehow biased, or if it's just reflecting the inequalities of that galaxy.
Yeah, good question.
Which, let's be honest, sometimes hits a little too close to home.
Right.
Even in a galaxy far, far away.
It's true. It's a reminder that even in a fantasy world, we're still grappling with real-world issues of power representation and the struggle for equality.
It's true. Wow, we've covered some serious ground here.
I know, right?
From the nature of good and evil to the ethics of war, from stoic Jedi to morally unlucky Gungans.
We went there.
We did. We went there.
We did.
We've seen just how much philosophy there is hiding within those epic space battles and lightsaber duels.
It's proof that you can find philosophical questions anywhere, even in a galaxy far, far away.
It's true. So, dear listener, after this deep dive into the philosophical side of Star Wars, what are you taking away? What new insights have you gained about the Force, the characters, the entire Star Wars universe?
More importantly, how has this deep dive changed the way you think about your own life, your own choices, your own place in the galaxy?
To leave you with one final thought-provoking question, imagine you find yourself face-to-face with Yoda, that wise, enigmatic Jedi Master.
Yeah.
What one question inspired by our deep dive today would you ask him?
Would it be about the nature of the Force? The balance between good and evil, the challenges of staying true to your values in a galaxy that's constantly at war? Or maybe you just want to know what he's really saying.
Whatever your question, may the Force and a healthy dose of philosophical curiosity be with you always.